Hello, Internet. Thank you once again for joining me to talk vertical dramas with, well, we have two guests.
Yeah,
We have Brittany
always.
Marsicek and also her beautiful cat,
Cairo.
who has, as far as I'm aware, not been in a vertical drama, but is very welcome to join us for this
Not yet.
interview.
But we did book a Blue Buffalo commercial once.
Oh, you're a
Yeah,
star.
you
Well,
are a
thank
star.
you.
Yeah, there's something about my face that screams cat lady because I've booked a couple of cat food commercials. And then one time they had me bring my own cat. He was not happy. I would not do it again.
Is it that old thing of like, don't work with cats and children, sort of animals and
Yeah,
children?
well, it's so funny. The that commercial, they were really like, it must be a real cat owner and their cat. And so I brought my cat. My cat was like, this is scary. Like he was for the audition process, we were in our house, and then it was just a whole thing. And then another cat food commercial, they brought a professional cat, which I realized professional cats are just highly food motivated. They're not like they're not really trained. They're just like they'll do it for a treat.
Oh, that's adorable. So, right, let's find out everything we need to know about you. Where are you from?
Interesting question. I'm actually a military brat, so I'm not really from anywhere.
Mm.
I moved, I think I lived in 10 different states, and now I'm in California, and I've been in Los Angeles for 10 years. So technically, even though I'm not from Los Angeles, it's the longest I've ever lived somewhere.
And is that where you would say you gravitate towards that feels like home now? That feels like your place.
Definitely feels like home now. Yeah, before I would say Pittsburgh because I went to college there.
Mm.
So I got to know that city really well. But yeah, I moved literally every 2 years. And my dad just retired from the military a couple weeks ago. So my parents are just now like buying their first home. Um,
Oh,
so it's weird because like where my parents lived never necessarily was where I was from, especially once I got to adulthood and people be like, where are you going for home? And I'm like, well, my dad currently lives in Alabama and or Hawaii or whatever, but like I'm not from there, so it's
wow.
weird.
Is your mum excited?
Yeah, so it's weird. My mom was actually in the Air Force as well.
Yeah.
So they met, they were in the same squadron in the Air Force, and that's how they met. And then she retired after 4 years to get her college paid for and started the family and stuff. But yeah, my it's really funny to watch my parents buy a house because they've been in so many houses that they're very particular. Like where some people might like have a little give and take, and now my parents have tried out a bunch of houses. But it's very cute. I'm very excited for them.
I was just thinking, just her, the thought for like she can finally nest and she can finally,
Yeah.
like, this is it.
Yes.
Okay, so you said that you went to college in Pittsburgh. What did you study at college?
So I have a dance degree. I have a BA in dance with a concentration in ballet. But it's really interesting. I feel like Point Park University, which is where I went, is a very prestigious dance school, and it also does like musical theater. It's so funny. A couple of the vertical actors I've worked with, I actually went to college with.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, which is so funny. Just, they were in the theater program, but Tyler Shear, who I did a mobile reels vertical with, and Brandon, he is the one I did in China. What is that one called? Falling for My Callboy CEO
Yeah.
on Callous TV. They both went to Point Park as well, which is just like
Oh.
crazy. But yeah, when I was in college, I grew up always wanting to be a professional ballerina, and I was like very rigorously training my whole life. Got into Point Park, and then I kind of realized in college that I didn't want to do ballet.
Mm.
Specifically point. I just never had found point shoes that I loved. And then I discovered contemporary ballet, and that was where I was going to go. But when I graduated college, there were just it's such a hard profession because not many people are watching live performances anymore.
Mm.
So all of the major companies that I was interested in joining after graduation actually ended up closing within a few years of my graduation. So I'm very thankful I didn't follow that route. But it was kind of forced upon me. So when I was in Pittsburgh, I graduated with 30 people. Like it was very
Mm.
prestigious. And then nobody was hiring. And then I ended up joining a burlesque group. And the choreographer was from Los Angeles, and he was like, if you guys want to dance like this, you got to move to LA. And the burlesque it's very loosely burlesque. It was basically hip hop and a bra, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like the classic with the fan and
Yeah.
stuff. And so after the choreographer told me that, I was like, okay. And then within a month, I moved to LA. I was
And
like,
did you find then that that's when all the opportunities opened up dance-wise?
yeah, it's really interesting. I always tell people, when you hold on to things with a tight fist, you don't allow for new opportunities to come in. And I feel like with my dance, I was always so obsessed with ballet. And there's still a part of me when I watch ballet to this day that I tear up because it feels like just like such a piece of me. And you have to be so good at such a young age to like really make it in ballet. But the fact that I was still able to dance professionally for the past 10 years has been such a blessing. And I feel like LA allowed me, because LA is a gig work economy,
Mm.
I'm able to make money within this period and then have other side jobs to like support my dream. And that's kind of like a very Los Angeles thing. It's all, you'll always hear like a waitress or a bartender who's like the most talented singer you'll ever hear. And they're just like, well, I'm still out here grinding. And that was like the case for a very long time for me.
I just have to go back to ballet. What are your favorite ballets to watch or to dance that you got to dance in? What
It's
was
so
like the
fun.
dream roles?
My favorite to watch, I love Romeo and Juliet. And it's really interesting because I kind of gravitate towards ballets with a lot of acting in it. In
So
real
the
life.
ones that there's more story and emotion.
Story and emotion, and like I could watch the balcony scene from every ballet, anybody's choreography, because of the emotion behind that scene is always just so heartbreaking and beautiful. Um, I'd say that's probably like my favorite. I love I like little pieces of ballets that I love. Like I love the second act of Giselle when she is like a spirit. Just like the way she moves her body. It's just I don't know, it's just so memorable. Like nothing is like that. But then I also love in Swan Lake it's very famous, the four dancers that are I think probably one of my favorite things I've ever done, since you asked that, is the Swan Lake variation where it's four dancers and you're holding hands like this and it's like dee, 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 dee,
That's
dee.
one of the things that everyone knows, isn't it? And those big
Yes.
moves. Yeah.
And that one is really fun to do because it is so dependent on the four of you working together.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something I realize is I love working collaboratively.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, like if you give me a solo moment, like sure, it's fun, but I don't know, I just really thrive in group settings. And I feel like that's why I love being on film sets so much because it is so much a collaboration. And really just like leaning on people who are like in their zone. That makes sense.
Yeah,
So
no, that does make sense. Other people have mentioned like the feeling of being a part of a team. I
yeah.
just have to say, I know that I know I should choose other ballets, but Swan Lake is my favorite. And I think probably one of the highlights of my life was I got to see the Bolshoi ballet
Oh,
dance Swan Lake.
I have
And I mean,
goosebumps. I already
obviously,
know.
I'm, someone watching it, but even I was like, this is another level. I can just remember my best friend and I turned to it at the interval, going, "This is like we're never going to see anything good this again." And we're like, "No, we're not."
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
something about watching, especially like a company like the Bolshoi. I actually was just talking about this. This is like kind of a tangent. I always like branch
we could
things,
do.
but okay, cool. I went to Coachella recently and I watched Green Day. I love Green Day. And this is how I feel when I watch like ballet too. When I was watching Green Day, I was like, this is exactly where they're meant to be. They're vibrating on the highest frequency. This is exactly where they're supposed to be in the highest skill set of, they're doing exactly what the universe intended. Like I just feel like when you see about ballerina who's just like so perfect and it just nailing it, just so good. I don't know, it just gives you full body chills to see somebody excel at exactly what they've been focusing on their whole lives.
That is exactly it. Yeah, it gives you body chills when you watch a
Yeah.
performer like that. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Um, I want to ask you about, is it the Ultras that you dance with? Is that the name?
Ultra, yes.
Yes. Oh my God, you're like iconic. Like, can you talk about that?
I feel
Like,
like
you're so
I've
cool.
I've lived so many like random lives. So, something that's really interesting when you decide to like pursue entertainment, especially dance, is you have to ask yourself, what do you want to do with this? I remember I had such bad anxiety when I graduated college because I was like, what if I don't make it? Like, eh. And then I was like, okay, what is making it? Because that doesn't mean anything. This is just parameters we put on ourselves for success. So I remember when I got to LA, I was like, you know what? I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want someone else to pay for it. that's my goal. And I don't want to be open about that and let it come to me. So after I think being in LA for a year, I went to the Ultra Music Festival auditions. It's so funny. It just like I really trust in divine timing and whatever is meant for you can't pass you by because I was so back before the pandemic, we had in-person auditions for everything. And I would do this thing in my car where I would have like outfits like if I got a casting, like because if you're on the west side and you have an audition in Hollywood, it's going to take you an hour. And then if you live in the valley, it's just so much driving. So I had like a ballet outfit, a fitness outfit, a girl next door outfit, like all in my trunk. And my friend was like, "You should go to this Ultra Music Festival audition." And I had never heard of it. And so I looked up music festivals and I looked and EDC popped up. EDC is like the complete opposite of Ultra vibe-wise. It's very like bright neon colors. And so my friend going to it, I was like, yeah, just like bring me like your brightest leotard. Apparently the audition for Ultra said to come in all black. So I show up in a hot pink leotard and everyone's in black and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so mortified. Um, but once I was there, I was like, you know what? It's fine. Like I'm just gonna go for it as hard as I can. And like the boss, my boss, her name is Katie, didn't even look at me because she was like, this girl can't even follow directions. But her assistant was like, no, this girl can dance. And then she like kind of fought for me. So once you do Miami, it's kind of because Ultra Miami is the big the biggest show, that's your audition to go onto the world tour. So because I think I have officially been touring with Ultra for 9 years, which is crazy. It's a lot different from when I started to now. So like I used to go to like every country that they had offered. So I would be gone for like 2 or 3 months in Asia. Was our the primarily where I spent most of my time was in Asia. Um, yeah, I got so lucky. Last year I went to Peru, which was on my bucket list. I literally performed in Lima. It's like they're long days, they're like 10-hour days. Got on a flight to Cusco, woke up at 4 a.m., drove to the base of Machu Picchu and hiked Machu Picchu to the top for like 9 hours. But I was like, this is a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Like, I just have to do this. It was so magical.
What are kind of the favorite places you've got to travel with that then?
Peru is definitely there. I tell people all the time, like when you can go, Peru is the people, the food, the history, the nature, everything about it is just magical. Um, Singapore is really fun. It feels like you're in the future. And what's great about Singapore, I've been to Singapore, I think 7 times. So every time I went, I was able to see something different. And the last time I went to Singapore, I was like, I'm getting out of the city. I want to see some nature, something else. So I went on this crazy hike and I saw so many monkeys. I saw the world's most poisonous snake. I saw wild boars. It's just, I don't know, stuff like that you can't plan for that you're just like, I'm gonna go do this thing in a different country that, there's no like, well, I don't think there's wild monkeys in America, but, you
Yeah.
know, not that I know of, but, it was just, I like happened upon them.
Yeah.
It was just so cool.
Oh, that's amazing. So I have to ask then, because obviously I'm supposed to be talking about vertical dramas with you.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got this amazing dance background.
Mhm.
You're living amazing life, like getting to travel and do this. Where does acting, how does that come into your life? Kind of, how does that
Yeah.
transition happen?
So it's really interesting. I always say acting was kind of like a slow burn romance with me. I've always been like the class clown my whole life. And I remember this is kind of like a prerequisite, but I remember in college, my jazz teacher was like, at one point in time, she was like, "You don't need a dance girl, you need to be on SNL." And at the time, I was so offended. I was like, I am gonna be a dancer. I'm prestigious. And like later on in life, I was like, oh, these are like signs that I just wasn't listening to. And what's really interesting when you're pursuing something that's so rigorous that you have devoted so much time and energy to, you have to really be careful about resentment because you hear so many no's as an actor, as a dancer, in the entertainment world that it can really get to you. And so I had put all of my eggs in this dance basket.
Mm,
And then I realized I was starting to hate dance and get mad at dance and blame dance. And I was like,
mm,
I'm I need to find other things to do. I need a hobby. And so my friend was like, you should try acting. Like, you're so funny, go take improv. So I went to the most random school in LA called Playhouse West, which is very well known here, but it's a very strict traditional acting school, but it also had an improv school. So I did that for like a year. And so acting was kind of my escape from dance for a while. That still allowed me to be creative, but take kind of the pressure off of things. And then at a certain point in time, I think it was 2019 actually, I auditioned for the show Tiny Pretty Things on
Oh
Netflix,
yeah.
and I was on a veil for one of the leads, which is a veil means it's between you and one other person. And I went through like 3 months of auditions. It was like very, very intense process. And I ended up not getting it. And it was so heartbreaking. But what I realized from that was this is what I want. It just made me be like, I've never felt this way.
I,
I
yeah.
want that.
Mm.
So I decided to switch more and focus on acting around 2019. Um, and then the pandemic happened, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I started taking as many online acting classes as I could. Yeah, and it kind of just switched from there. I also have a nerve damage in my left foot from dancing in heels so much.
Mm.
So I think it all kind of happened at the same time. It hurts a little bit more to dance, and dance op and acting opportunities are making me more excited. So it's kind of like a perfect cocktail.
That sounds beautiful. So, um, what was the first paid acting job you got?
That was my first paid acting job. Technically, well, the first one I got, I starred in a SAG short film, which got me SAG eligible.
Mm.
I think the first one that I consider like, oh my God, I'm an actor. It's actually so interesting. It didn't happen until I got fired from a job I had at a nightclub for like 8 years, which is
Ooh.
so funny because I kept saying I wanted to quit and I wanted to really invest in myself fully as an entertainer, but there's this part of you that's always so scared to like give up your backup option until the universe literally fired me. And it was like super illegal with how everything went down, which is like a whole other side story. But it was like I'd never been fired from something before. It was so scary. And then right after that, I booked two indie movies, which were had like $1 million budget. And then I booked 30 Days to Revenge, which is now called 30 Days Till I Marry My Husband's Nemesis
Yeah.
with Mark Vega. So it was almost like I want to say it was like 1 month after I'd been fired from my safety job. I booked like three big things all in like
Wow.
the month of August.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think sometimes the universe kind of gives you a shove, doesn't it? Of like, this is
Yes.
where you need to
Whether
be, Brittany. You need to be doing this.
Yes. And I kept asking and praying and meditating, like, I don't want to work at the nightclub anymore. I'm so tired. I don't want to work there. And sometimes those answers come not in the nicest ways. Like, you're just like, I always thought like this big opportunity will come and then I'll quit the job and walk away. And it was like, no, girl, you said you wanted
Mhm.
to leave. We'll force you out the door. Like, and it's so crazy because when you're in it, you're not able to see that. And then some time goes by and you're able to scope out the lens and be like, I'm so thankful for that thing that
Yeah.
happened. Even though it was really traumatic in the moment,
But then
it
it also makes
was,
you stronger as well when you've been through that. It's like,
yes.
it's all builds, it's that thing, isn't it, about scars give you strength because you heal
Yeah. The
stronger.
character and all that.
Yeah. So you did mention a vertical amongst those, as which
Yes.
I think is still one of my all-time favorite verticals because it's so
Oh,
good.
I love that.
Can you just share memories of that vertical?
Yeah.
And also the scooter. Everyone
The scooter.
remembers Mark on his scooter.
I know we were all dying laughing at the scooter. Um, so 30 Days to Revenge is what it was originally called, and I'm just going to refer to it that because the title now is so long, 30
Mm.
Days Till I Marry My Husband's Nemesis. But I remember when I first auditioned for that, I didn't realize it was a vertical because this
Oh.
is probably the middle of 2023. So the
Mm.
vertical world was still pretty new. Um, and I think now on Actors Access, I don't know, which is a website that actors use to audition. I don't know if it's now a requirement or what to say it's a vertical platform,
Mm.
but in the beginning it didn't. So I thought I was auditioning for the world's craziest indie film. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, there's so many like plot points and like, but that's now what I know is like typical of a vertical to like always have this emotional roller coaster happening. Where normal movies kind of have more of the
Mm.
climax down. Verticals, I feel like, are constantly like this.
Yeah, 100%.
But um, I remember reading my audition scenes. I remember the one audition scene was when she wakes up, Blair wakes up and she's like, "Did we do anything?" And um, I think his name's Nathan, says, "No, I would never do that to you. Like, come on, B, like I would never do that." And I remember thinking like, "Oh, I love that. Okay, I love this character." And I love within drama, I think there should always be comedy. That's like something I'm always fighting for in the vertical world is,
More comedy.
just
Yes, more comedy.
yes, more comedy. Just because something is dramatic doesn't mean it has to be a vacuum and like not allow anything else. And I think moments of comedy brings realness to things.
Mm.
And I don't know, I would hope that people can see that in my acting, that I'm always trying to bring levels to it. Anyway, and so I loved that scene so much because it was like I was like, what happened? Wait, who is? And I just thought I had so much to play. And then when I was so nervous because it was the first time I was one on a call sheet. And like the other indie movies that I had booked, I just never had that many lines. So I remember I memorized the whole script before we went there, which is super unnecessary, but
And
I'm just so
unheard of
excited.
now for verticals, isn't it?
Yes.
Someone's like, yes, I memorized it all beforehand.
Yes. Like I was like, I am going to be on. And it's crazy. I mean, I am someone who's still very memorized. I know a lot of actors. I feel like a lot of actors could work more on their memorization because I feel like that leads to more play. But the
Mm.
vertical world is very hard because we are filming like 10 to 20 pages a day, which is very unheard of. So sometimes it is very like you got to hit your beats or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, I just remember being so nervous memorizing it. But I do also remember after leaving the 30 days set, sitting in my car and tearing up because I was like, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I'm good. Like this, it just felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. Um, yeah, and I just never looked back.
That's amazing. So then you kind of you've got a lovely range of roles. So okay, I'm looking at IMDb. I can't ever do these interviews at IMDb. I want to mention Cherished by my ex-husband's brother. I
Mm-hmm.
need to rewatch that and review because that was one of my favorite early ones. Because I
I
do
love
like, okay, so the context is my favorite book of all time is Anne of Green Gables. So I do
mm,
like a male character who's yearned on the sidelines for years and been overlooked. And obviously it has that storyline.
yes.
But what's great is obviously yet again, which I think is one of the things you're brilliant at, is Chloe's a really strong character.
Hmm.
And that she is like, I'm not taking this from the husband.
Yes. Yeah,
And
I
then sort
love
of finds her voice of herself. So I just wondered if you have memories about that one because I just love that one so much.
that one was amazing. I love Paul Addison and Lawson. That was the first time I'd worked with her. I remember that set is the most I have ever laughed. The three of us just vibed so hard, and I feel like that chemistry transcends onto screen for sure. I
Definitely.
think yeah, and I do think Chloe is because the first two things I booked, 30 days and Oh No, I Slept with My Husband, they have like some play, but I would say the characters are more middle ground. And Chloe, I really wanted to make her strong in the sense of she's finding the strength to divorce her husband and leave him and not take this anymore. And I felt like I didn't want her to be a victim. I wanted her to take her power back. And I feel like that role with Chloe has kind of been the trajectory of my typecasting, for lack of a better word, in the vertical world. But I just think that is the important story to tell.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful thing about scripts is, well, that they should be. Sometimes they'll try to tell you what emotion to play things, which kills me because it's like it kills the interpretation of a role, right?
Mm.
You want to allow an actor the freedom to put a spin on it, and then it's the director's job to kind of mold that clay into the story they want to tell. Um, yeah, I love that one a lot. It was so fun.
And it's your first kind of, you do seem to have a little bit of a, also a sideline of characters who cook.
Yeah, which
So
is
I
so
want to
funny.
know, what is your real life? Are you a real life cook and baker or is it just your characters?
Just my characters. I mean, I cook to survive, you know what I mean? But it's not something that I love to do. And it's funny because like I'm not good at like cutting with a knife. I get very like nervous. Um, so I'm just like, let's not do close-ups of my hands. Like that's not the insert we need, guys. Like let me just like add it to a pot. Yeah, I have noticed that the chef life loves me.
Does
Yeah.
love you 100%. I want to ask you next about Fated Deal with the Mafia King,
Hmm.
which the more I go back to it, the more I'm like, I think it's actually quite a extraordinary vertical.
Yeah, I think it's probably still this day one of my favorite ones I did, if not my favorite one.
Because starting with the beginning, the fact that I'm like, that stunt, that is like a movie stunt because
Hmm.
the kind of the thing is that your character is in a car and they're trying to kill her, and it's not normally if basically the bad people are trying to kill the heroine, it's like, oh, they've
Yeah.
stuck something in the drink or a kidnapping. This is a car stunt where you have to
Hmm.
get pulled out of a car before it goes over the cliff. I mean,
Hmm.
it feels another level from the beginning with that.
Yes.
Wait, was this the one that you filmed in? Is it Atlanta, that one? Was that
Yes.
filmed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I feel like that script, I really love that script because something that I'm always asking is why,
Hmm.
right? And I feel like in Fate to Deal with the Mafia King, because we're dealing with the mafia, it made sense. Like there has been other verticals where I get kidnapped and I'm like, why would this person kidnap me? This is like so, we're just kidnapping for kidnapping's sake.
Hmm.
But like when we're dealing with the mafia, where those type of storylines make sense, it allows for, I feel like, bigger stories and it justifies it for the viewers and for the actors. So I feel like that was always really fun for us to play because it always made sense. You know what I mean?
And then I don't want to give too many things away about that because there's some like good reveals that you only get if you watch it. But I love the storyline with yourself and Hannah, and just
Hmm.
obviously it's a really good one. But also the great thing about your character is that she becomes the equal of Jack, I would say.
Yes, yes. She becomes like kind of the mafia queen.
And that is awesome. And I think that's one of the first times we saw that in a Mafia vertical. Because I think before, often the female character's quite, and I don't want to say it, but you're the wife at home, essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
And you get some awesome stuff to do near the end. Like,
yes.
I'm just thinking, I'm just like, that must have just been really fun to just,
Yeah. That's
you're
what
like this badass
I
on screen.
still to this day I'm pushing for Fate to Deal with the Mafia King too.
I
I'll like
need it. Yes.
need it. I'm like, trust me, guys. I am the one messaging the EPs and the producers. I'm like, give it to us. But I just think, I don't know why I think it's hard for people. They're just like, we're on to the next one. We have to make the next thing. And I think that they didn't realize the success the Mafia King would have. And they've gone back to the writer and they're like, let's make it. And then I think the writer wasn't sure what to do. And then the producers aren't sure. And then they're like, well, we're making 10 other verticals right now. So it just keeps getting on the back burner. But I just think it's such a fun story to tell because we haven't seen it before.
Mm.
Like, what is, Jack's healing story? What is it like for him mentally to like not be able to take on the role that he has been, the Mafia King for so long and to allow his wife to do that? And to, like, we never get to see what recovery really means, I feel like. In these, it's always just like, and then we're done. Like, that climax has happened. But I think it would be really interesting to tell.
I think, yeah, that one is one that would really stand up for we need a sequel. So yes, I will join you on that. And then I have to, all right, I'm just going to go through this. No
Yeah.
one misses with Mrs. Keller.
Hmm.
Uh, Um, my favorite thing is you get inside a coffin.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, that was
That
crazy.
whole scene is hilarious. So it's one of
Yes.
the ones where I know there's been a few, but I think it's the best one of basically. So it's just for the viewers. Um,
Yeah.
where basically dreadful. The husband's not really been paying attention. There's an awful kind of high school sweetheart who's insinuated herself in the life. The mother-in-law's a nightmare.
Yes.
Your character's kind of put up with it and then gets as usual in Vertland, the erroneous, you only have a few months to live, and then does the whole, I'm taking back my power. One of the
Yes.
best early scenes. It's like, I'm planning my funeral. I'm going to go and buy it. I want this coffin. I have to get in the coffin and see what it feels like. And just whoever that guy was, who's just brilliant, whose just eyes are bugging out the entire time.
Hilarious. Yeah. That was
Was that
another
all
one of
right?
those.
I mean, that's quite a thing to get in a coffin. I could see
Yeah.
people saying, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It was weird. So Keller, Nancy Keller and also Faded Deal with the Mafia King. I got both of those roles because of Echoes of Her Cry, which actually didn't do that well on Good Short. I think because it doesn't really have like the happiness of normal verticals. It's not about like relationships at all. It's about family dynamics. But that storyline and the hardships of that character kind of, I think, got me Nancy Keller and Molly at Mafia. And what's great about Nancy, when I first read the script, I was like, okay, this is a very heavy script. So where can we add lightness? And I think the coffin scene was where I was able to add some lightness because you have to be a little cuckoo bananas to get into a literal coffin. And the scene where I'm fighting with my mother-in-law and I start throwing food and I'm
It's a
and
very good pasta throw, can I just say? It's an
yes,
excellent
thank you.
pasta throw.
But it's like you got to lean into it. So getting into the coffin was weird because coffins, I don't know if I'm like this is true for all coffins, so I don't want to speak on behalf of them all, but it doesn't have like a flat wooden bottom. It's actually slates. So it's
Oh,
very uncomfortable. And the funeral home owner was just like, yeah, no one's ever complained before. Haha.
fair
And I
enough.
was like, okay, like that's a crazy thing to say. But yeah, it was weird. It was definitely a surreal experience. But I feel like what's interesting with acting is you just go to this place where you're in, at least for me, I take everything I do like so seriously. And for me, when I'm acting, I'm really trying to tell what the character's going through truthfully.
Mm.
So when I was in the coffin, I wasn't thinking about Brittany being in the coffin and how that's weird. I was thinking about Nancy and how she's preparing for her death. So it's I'm able to kind of do things that maybe I wouldn't have normally done as Brittany because it is truthful for the character.
And I think what's interesting with this one as well is because I know that sometimes verticals can feel like they're too far removed, but actually, if you take away, it's like the exaggerated bits there. It's a really common thing in a long marriage
Yes.
that you stop paying attention.
Yeah.
You're both busy with stuff in particular. So I think that's kind of credit to you and Nick that despite all that other stuff, I think what's good is as soon as he starts realizing he's instantly like, oh, this is not good. But
Yeah.
it's kind of I think that's credit to you that you kind of made me go, actually, no, there is stuff here that I can kind of I know people who've gone through, I've gone through. So
Yeah. I feel like something that I really advocate for myself and the viewers in the vertical world, which I'm sure has made some people mad on the production side, is I won't do something for the sake of doing it.
mm,
Like I've played a villain role once or twice, and I remember getting the note, just be evil, just be evil. Disney villain evil. And I was like, no,
mm,
because people, I mean, there are evil people out there, sure, but why is she evil? Because she doesn't have a father. Her mother is abusive towards her, so she perpetuates that abuse. Like that's how you make interesting stories, is you have the backstory, right? And I feel like it happens sometimes we're like, just cry. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how acting works. Why am I crying? I feel disconnected from my husband, who was the love of my life, and we let that slowly drift apart. Like these I try not to be dramatic just because we're doing dramatic things.
mm,
And we are, at the end of the day, verticals are kind of soap operas, like modern day soap operas. But I think there is so much drama within the situation already given that I don't need to scream or just be so over the top when this I could live truthfully in this dramatic situation, which yes, it's dramatized, but it is also at the end of the day, like you said, something that people can relate to.
mm. And can I say, I think that comes across on screen.
I love
So,
that.
like
Thank
your
you.
intention comes across because I would say
Yeah.
you definitely found you keep the fun and you get the drama, but you do give everything you do, I think, that grounded reality. So yeah, just to
Yeah.
let you know, it comes across to the viewer. We can see it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important to me because I think it's the difference between making something for pure entertainment and then telling a story and like pulling on people's like heartstrings. You know what I mean? Like whether I'm making you laugh or cry, I want it to be personal for you.
And it does. So that is perfect because you mentioned making laugh. I became Mrs. Grayson by bragging. Would you say that's, I would say that's probably the one where you've got to have the most fun and lean most into comedy.
Yes, 100%. I always try to lead into comedy and I usually always get stunted because they're like, no, we want drama. But I was super lucky. So Yutong was my director on that one, and he was the director on Fated Deal with Mafia King.
Mm.
So he got to know me personally and knew, because even though Molly was very like dramatic and there was a lot happening. But when I'm on set and when I'm like with the crew, I'm more myself. And I think when Yu Tong read that script, he was like, "Oh, Brittany would be able to really bring the fun into this." And it's great because Drama Box also kind of let us play with it. So sometimes when you're on sets for verticals, it'll be your director, but it'll also be the client, which is, Real Short, Drama Box, Good Short, whoever it is. And sometimes they are very strict about the vision they want to bring to
Mm.
life. But in this one, they really just let me and Nick kind of get our hands into it and lean into it. So we would, when we'd go rehearse a scene, I'd be like, what do you think of this button? Or could I do this with her physicality? Like if I like the opening scene, I push him against a car. This man is 6'4". In no world could I really beat him up, right? So he has to be kind of letting me do it. And we were like, okay, how can we play with this? And those type of things we really were able to lean into and my reactions. And same with the two villains, Sarah and Keaton, I believe his name is. Utah would let us literally riff, which is like unheard of in the vertical world,
Ooh,
where
yeah.
he would let us go back and forth, and some of it made it into the final edits, and that's like really the funny bits of it. Um, but I feel like you have to have a certain amount of trust in your actors, and Yutong had worked with both me and Nick before and knew that we could bring a little fun to it.
Because I just everything's right. So it's got a great start because obviously, and then you get to use that physicality, your
Mhm.
ability to stick a leg on you. Sorry,
Yeah.
there's probably a better term for it, but it's
Yeah.
impressive.
No.
And it's a great start. And obviously, it's just immediately a flip, the fact that it's the female character who's saving the guy, which is great.
Mhm.
And then just everything's brilliant, just like the way you walk into the office and totally get past the security guards. And it's a hoot all the way through. People really like the motif with the shoes as well.
Mhm.
People are like, that's one of the most romantic things in a vertical, that he got
It's
her
very,
pretty flat shoes.
yeah. It's great. I feel I'm sad about I became Miss Grayson by bragging because I feel like Drama Box didn't advertise it as well. Like, and they said that they had problems with captions, like closed captions. So it was supposed to come out earlier, and then it kind of fell under like the shadow of another vertical they were promoting. And so I was really afraid that people wouldn't see it because it's my favorite one because I got to lean into the comedy. And I'm really happy that fans are finding it regardless of the lack of advertisement because
Yeah.
so much of I feel like the popularity of verticals is how much they pump it out there.
Yeah, it's their
Um,
marketing, isn't it? And how much
yeah, the
it's
marketing
gone
is huge.
viral.
And like
Yeah.
Grayson didn't really get marketing at all, and it's still like getting in people's I don't know, spaces is really magical to me because it's like, okay, then the story is speaking for itself. And I don't know, it just makes me feel vindicated. And I'm like, yes, I knew like this comedy would do well.
Yeah.
Like let us do it, please.
And actually, I was thinking, I'm sure that's how I found it as well, because I think I'd seen it, but obviously, there's so many apps and so much fighting for your attention.
Mhm.
But I think I'd put a post out, but I wanted more comedy. Like, and then I had multiple people say you need to watch this one, and of course, like I've learned to trust people. You watch it, and it's brilliant. So, if that helps, it's the fan. I think the fan recommendations take on a lot more power now, just because there is so much.
Yeah,
And so you're like, I can't choose between
they're all
stuff. So I
fighting
will
for
listen to
great.
people who know what I like and then I will listen to what they've watched. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And there's so much competition out there. It's hard because I feel like right now I'm in this place where I do kind of get typecasted as the strong female lead, which if I'm going to get be typecasted as anything,
Yeah.
but it does get frustrating because a lot of those roles kind of like echoes of her cry or um Nancy Keller or these type of things, they're pretty heavy. It's an important story to tell, but I feel like it's a lot. And I keep, when I'm negotiating new verticals, all I'm getting is like strong revenge, scorned wife fight back, and I'm like, "Ugh, I want to play more. I want to be able to do the Grayson um, by bragging roles, and I don't know why. I feel like it's translating really well in the for the fans, but not so much on the production side. So I'm hoping that they'll start to see the importance of comedy
Oh,
soon.
I mean, that's the thing I want most of, because it's just like, look, the world's really hard. And yes, there is sometimes satisfaction in watching a good revenge story, but you don't have that same dopamine hit that comedy gives you. If you watch a
Yeah,
good
and
comedy, you walk away feeling like, you know,
yes,
what
and
a
I feel like
gift as you as a performer to make someone feel that way.
yes, and I feel like we're not paying attention to like what was popular in the 90s is rom-coms. And that I think it's hard because we have a lot of the times there's IP from Chinese dramas that have already done well. So they're using those stories to tell, which are great. But if you watch Chinese or Korean dramas, they are very dramatic.
Mm.
I
Mm.
feel like American audience, we love a good rom-com. And so we're kind of like in this middle back and forth of like they're using what they think or what has worked for them for years, and we want what has worked for us for years. But yeah, I don't get a lot of opportunities in my DMs and my messages for comedy, so I'm always like, "Ah, okay, hopefully."
I just hope, yes. I'll just keep banging on about them. That was really helpful, actually. You're so good at like teeing me up for my next question. I just want to say
Oh,
thank you
I love
because now,
that.
having mentioned China, I want to talk about the verticals because you did like a two two-hander, didn't you? You went to China and
Yes.
filmed too, so you had from last pick to first choice, and then falling for my call boy
Oh.
CEO. What was
Mhm.
it like then, having travelled a lot with dance, to then get to travel with your acting?
It's really interesting. So last year or that year, I had gone to Hong Kong for dance, and I went to Vietnam after, but like for myself, not for dance, just to travel. And I was going to go to the Great Wall, but I ended up meeting my friend in Asia, and it was all these things, and I was really sad that I didn't go to see the Great Wall. And that was in September of 2024. Then fly back home, do Nancy Keller in Vancouver, and the executive producer there asked me to do China, and I was like, I will do China if you take me to the Great Wall, because I just like have those
Oh,
like
I
strong
love it.
things.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's like when you put that intention out into the universe that you want something, it's really great to see when it like comes back around. So I was super lucky. We went for almost 2 months, which was a very long time. But it was great. Again, like after filming these two things, I literally told Lawson, I was like, we're going to the Great Wall. I don't care how tired you are, we're hiking to the top. Like, and it's just one of those things like, I might not ever get a chance to do that again. So I always try to just live life, full send.
I have to say, because as you mentioned the lovely Lawson, is that sort of your vertical ride or die? The kind of the thing that
Yes.
you probably work together the most?
Yeah, so we did Cherished by my ex-husband's brother. That was the first time I met Lawson, and we just like laughed so much. And then when they asked me to go to China, they were like, "Is there anyone you would want to, basically live with for 2 months?" And I was like, "Well, I really loved working with Lawson," and so I forwarded her name, and she auditioned for it and booked it. And I'm so thankful because we really like connected and leaned on each other for that. And then when we got back to the States. I think it was the mobile reels one that I did. The villain character had dropped out, so and then Lawson wasn't able to do one that she was signed up for, so she suddenly was free, and she had known the production, uh, somebody on production on the one I did, and so she was able to do that one with me. And then we both booked Campus Rivals, which is a new one that's coming out soon with Eric.
Believe me, I'm coming to that. Don't you worry.
Yeah. And so we booked that one by ourselves separately. So
Wow.
that would just like happen to work together again. And then we just did another one that's coming out soon on my drama, which would be called Designed by Desire. But we booked that separately. We just
Wow.
happened to both book it. So I'm
The
like, I feel like
universe is just, yeah, the universe is just
yeah.
throwing it together. And presumably you survived, the friendship survived 2 months together in China.
Oh, yes. Oh, I think it made us even closer. China is definitely not for the weak. The just like the work conditions are kind of different than like what's normal in the US, and we really leaned on each other, and I feel like because of that I just have like such a deep bond with her, And it's great because we are very similar, that we're both kind of type A personalities, which is really hard to be in this world that has nothing guaranteed. So we'll just like send each other voice notes and be like, I'm kind of crashing out about this thing. And she's been like kind of my rock to bounce back off of and vice versa. So it's really magical to have somebody who really understands exactly what you're going through.
Mm. And we need, so okay, so I'm now thinking clearly we need like a buddy comedy with like the
Please.
pair
Oh
of
my gosh.
you, like causing chaos somewhere and running around as characters. I don't
Yes, I
understand
think
why that hasn't happened yet. I mean, I guess you're saying it's partly the cultural thing, but it would,
yeah, I
I
feel
think
like
so many of us would watch like, something like Joyride or Bridesmaids, it's proven
yes.
that it can work. Female characters.
Yes, I feel like right now we're in this really hard situation in verticals and in Hollywood in general where people are just going with what works.
Mhm.
Oh, this formula, this thing worked, this romance thing worked, and we're just gonna do it until we can't do it anymore. We'll do the same storyline 40 different ways. Instead of hockey players, now they're football players, and now we're mafia guys, and it's just the same story, which is fine, but after a while, the audience is gonna be like, what's next? And I think what's really cool right now, which happened with Campus Rivals, and now that I'm seeing more people do it, is now actors are starting to write vertical scripts.
Mm.
And it's kind of pushing the limits of the same tropes that we're seeing over and over again. And I think hopefully that will push the boundaries of things because I am tired. Like I've done, I don't even know how many 16 verticals at this point. I've only had one female best friend ever, which is crazy because I feel like female friendships to me
Mm.
sometimes are more important than romantic ones. My
Mm.
platonic girlfriends are my sisters. And those are stories people want to see. I just don't know why they aren't being made yet for verticals.
See, I promise I'm going to come back to Campus Rivals. I just want to ask you about Like and Queen Fights Back, because
Mhm.
mainly because you hadn't done a werewolf. So how was it immersing yourself in
Yes.
werewolf world and just bringing a bit more fantasy into it? I think that's what I really
Yeah,
liked about that role for you.
I loved it. So I was kind of apprehensive about the werewolf ones at first because of the women were always the Luna.
Hmm.
And it was always I feel like the werewolf ones, especially in the beginning, kind of pushed the boundaries with intimacy that I wasn't like comfortable with necessarily yet. And I also didn't love that, I hate to say it, but it was kind of giving like women are property vibes.
Mm.
You're my Luna, I'm your alpha. You're forced to do this because destiny and
Mm.
some of the storylines I was like, not for me, you know. That and I just feel like I'm giving more vampire than werewolf, so maybe the
Yeah.
type thing also wasn't the thing. But the Lycan Queen, the script reached out to me, and I read all of them before I take them. I force them to let me sign an NDA and read the script top to bottom before I accept any of them, just because I just want to make sure everything is within my comfort zones. And I loved Lycan Queen because I always wanted to do fantasy. Like low key, my dream is to be an elf like on some fantasy show. I grew up on Lord of the Rings. That's like my favorite movies. So I was really excited with Lycan Queen because she was in her power. And it wasn't like the CGI moments I felt like were really well done. Instead of taking you out of it, just kind of pulled you into it. So I really loved it. I loved howling at the moon. I feel like you have to be so, what's the word? Like you just can't be embarrassed as an actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here in front of a crew of 20 people and I'm just howling at the moon. Like it's crazy. Like, but I love it.
I think that's when it works, when you're all willing to just go with it and sell it.
Yeah.
And then
Full
obviously that
send. Yeah.
transports us into that world and story with you.
Yeah.
Right, now we've obviously we skirted around it. We have to talk Campus Rivals. What can you share? What can you tell us about the process of how you got involved?
Yeah, it's so funny. So I absolutely love Adam. I worked with him on the Lycan shoot and Vanessa. And Adam had posted on his story that they were auditioning for a script that he had written. And I have read some of the stuff he's written because he's actually pitching me on some dance roles that we're hoping gets picked up. So I already knew he was
Sorry,
a,
this is like me. That's a terrible dance. I can't
I
dance, but
know.
I
I'm
want that to
like,
happen so much.
the
Yeah.
the fact that I haven't done a ballet one actually infuriates me, but whatever. Um, So anyway, so yeah, I just knew he was a good writer, and I was like, I'm so excited to do anything that Adam does. But what they were auditioning for was the antagonist and the best friend. So in that Vanessa has a best friend, which is played by Lawson. And I usually don't go for the villains because sometimes what they say is problematic, A. B, I usually, if I'm gonna be on set, I want to be in every scene. I'm just like very like type A. Like sitting around is like to me like so anxiety inducing. Um, but I was like, you know what? I just know Adam can write a good villain. And it's really funny. Okay, this is like a sidebar. When we were on uh the Lycan one, me, Vanessa, and Adam were always drinking boba. And so we like pitched like this like funny storyline where we have like this whole storyline around like boba, and I would be like an evil boba shop owner, and I'm just like constantly chewing boba. And he was like, I just need you to audition for the villain and give me the boba vibes, that like that energy that we were playing around with. Because yes, she's a villain, but she's not evil,
Mm,
right? Um, and I just had so much fun with the audition. I feel like playing college is really fun. It gave me kind of Gossip Girl vibes meets Cruel Intentions. So
mm,
I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to come out and for like the audiences to see it because I think it is really different than the typical verticals we see.
mm,
And I love that I think VidGlue is one of those apps that I really hope takes off because they are taking chances with scripts
mhm.
and and they're talking to a lot of my peers about buying their scripts instead of just doing the ones that they think they know will do
They're
well.
100%. I just want to, yeah, do a massive shout out for Vigloo because they are the ones who are experimenting the most, I would say, and taking
Yeah.
the most risk and just trying different things. And I think that's so admirable. And there's some absolute gems on there as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I have to ask as well. So obviously you mentioned earlier that one of the things is you're like the villains, it's like it's just be more evil. So presumably because it's Adam writing the script, you actually knew like why is she behaving like this?
Yes. Yeah. It was, you kind of feel sorry for my character.
Mm,
Um, Basically, I don't want to like give any spoilers,
mm,
but like she's not just mean to be mean, like a mean
mm,
girl. She's mean because something happened to her
mm.
and she's trying to protect herself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a lot of my character. Even when I did the audition, she says something this one line, and I don't think this will give anything away, but she says, "You broke my heart, so I'm going to break your reputation."
Mm,
And I feel like that is the her whole character right there. It's just
yeah.
like you hurt me, and I instead of going to cry about it or being embarrassed about it, like I'm gonna hurt you back, which is not the right choice, but it's a fun choice, you know?
I know people in the past who've made that choice.
Yeah. And I think if
Mm,
I'm being honest, a lot of people made that choice. I've probably made that choice when I was younger in college, and
mm,
it's just it's not the adult thing to do, but I'm not an adult yet. I'm still learning and figuring it out. And I feel
mm.
like because there was a lot of truth in that script, we're able to lean into it.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I just can't wait to watch it. I mean, obviously, it did get quite amusing on Instagram, as obviously you're all posting. You're like, who hasn't turned up to be like a background character in this?
Yes, it was really fun trying to see who would like comment because with the world of college, anybody can be in a sorority or a fraternity. So it really worked out that we got a lot of fun day players to come in and like have a line here or there. I actually met oh, what is his name? I can't even think of it. Well, actually, it's probably better that I don't even say. I can't remember the character's name,
Mm.
but do you know Shay?
Hmm.
So he comes in and plays a character, and,
I
and
nod
I
as if like he's a friend. I know who he is as a
yeah,
viewer.
as the actor. I
Yes.
can't remember his character's name, but he's like a fraternity brother.
Yeah.
We get to have like this one-off scene together, and I was like, this is one of my favorite things I've done, and it's just like, I don't know, I think it's gonna keep the audience smiling. It's one of those things where while you're filming it, I had to like be careful because I started watching it while I'm in the middle of it and being so excited. Like, I can't wait for this to come out.
It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, just have to say, have you got other projects like that lined up that you're like that aren't
Super
out yet that
excited.
we can be excited about?
I'm really excited for Designed for Desire, which will be on My Drama. It was my
Mm,
first time working for them, but I knew the writer of that one as well. So my friend Faye, who is an intimacy coordinator and stunt coordinator on a lot of verticals, actually wrote it. And she had messaged me about it that she'd wanted me to audition for it. And that was also one of those like magical times on set where the crew had all known each other and worked together. So it was a lot of like mind melding, you
Yeah.
know, where I feel like the DP wouldn't even have, he'd be like, oh, yep, I see what you want. And the director's like, yep, okay. Like it just made
Mm.
everything move so smoothly. And because we had people localizing the script and making it more for American audiences, um, I'm just really excited about it because I feel like there's some times in the vertical world where you'll say something and I'm just like, this is culturally just something that would never happen here. But whatever, I'm not writing it. But it's nice when you do feel like, okay, this is a representation of more of what happens here or for the audiences. Because I think a lot of our audiences is, I think the US, UK. I think when Verticals first started, there was like this notion that like it was for Chinese audiences.
Mm.
But really, it's not Chinese audiences that are watching it as much. And it is more
It's global.
widespread.
It's global, I
Yeah.
think, is the key thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really awesome. I just can't wait now. Like, why aren't they out yet? I want to watch
I know.
them.
I'm like, do you guys need help editing?
Yeah.
Like, let me get. Yeah.
Um, just talking about, obviously, you've worked with a lot of people. Are there kind of people almost like on your vertical tick list that you're like, I'd love to work with them?
Yeah. Well, it's hard because I want to work with the girls, which is hard to work with, but I would really love now that there's more redheads in the game to do like some twin swapping. Like, why can't we do like a Parent
Mm.
Trap type moment?
Yes.
I think that would be a really fun thing to get to explore. There's another Brittany who does verticals, who's a redhead, and I was like,
Um,
we just need to
it
do
took
something
me
together.
about 3 months to work out you were separate people.
Yes. And people and it on
And you're
IMDb we
both
have
phenomenal actresses, and actually, you two as twin. Oh my, that would be so good.
it would be so
So
fun. I'm just
good.
like I would love I don't know. I just feel like that would be
Yeah.
ah, so great.
Um, and then you've mentioned obviously some people are moving to writing. Can you see yourself going down any sort of path of doing writing or producing or directing?
Maybe I feel like writing for me is one of those things. It's like choreography. I get so what I love about acting and dancing is you have to be so in the moment that you can't really think or judge yourself. You're really living present. And I never got into being a choreographer because you have too much time to reflect on your work, and then I become my world's biggest critic. So I feel the same thing about writing. It's like I get very down on myself, but I do really like production, and I could see myself becoming a producer in the future since I am so organized.
Mhm.
But at this point, because I also for a long time made YouTube videos, I vlogged what it was like to be a dancer for Ultra. I have been making YouTube videos for so long, so I've wrote things, edited them, directed them, acted in them, and I've tried on all the hats and I just really love acting. So I think for a while that's what I'm going to focus on.
And then yeah, I kind of want to end with obviously you've kind of hinted it, but I'm always like, why isn't there dance in a vertical? So I grew up. Well, not I grew up. That's not fair. I was in my 20s, so theoretically I was already an adult. As my husband used to call them, the movies about the redemptive power of dance. I
Hmm.
watched every Step Up. I watched every Bring It On. I watched every Crumping.
What about Center Stage?
Cool. That is one of the best movies
One of
of
my favorites.
all time.
Yes.
That whole ballet at the end where they do the whole Jamiroquai thing. And
Oh,
and the
I could
fact
do
that they tell the whole romance like within that ballet, but that they don't cut, and it's the really sorry, Center Stage
so good.
is one of
One of
the
my favorites.
they made a sequel which is kind of all right, but the original one is and also
Yeah,
Zoe Saldana in that
so good. It's one
like
of my favorite movies.
transcends it.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, it's just a dance movie, and then she's just like does this Oscar nominated, it should be like performance of like her entire journey. And Susan May Pratt, and sorry, right, I'm sorry, right, we need to go down that.
No, it's so funny. So, the last vertical I was on, the actor was a male actor was Michael Tickner, and I literally forced him to watch Center Stage because he had never seen it before. Because that's how obsessed I am with it. I was like, go home and study this. But Yeah, if I'm being honest, I haven't really watched any of the current dance verticals out there because it's so very apparent to me that they're not using ballet dancers. And to be honest, I don't know if
Well,
they're even
there aren't really any dance verticals. That's the thing. There's
there's a
nothing. So all the
couple.
other stuff I mentioned is just bad 2000 movies, not including
Yeah,
some
so
stage.
I have noticed some verticals with ballet, but the
Yeah.
ballet, I don't think they do like a dancing part of it. I think that just happens to be their profession, which is something that I see a lot in verticals. I almost did a boxing one because they had pitched it to me as like she's a female boxer, and I was like, that is such a cool story to tell. And then it ended up like boxing was like not even a part of the vertical. She just happened to be a boxer, but then the
Mm.
whole vertical was about her getting pregnant.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so we're not telling a boxing story. So I don't know if the ballet ones that have been made right now are that, where it's like she just happens to be a ballerina, but I can tell by the actress's hands and arms that they've never done ballet in their life. So it's very frustrating because there are a few dancers in the vertical world that they're just not utilizing.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's always surprising to me when people are like, "Oh, you dance?" And I'm like, I still post dance videos, not as much as my acting, but pretty regularly. So I don't know why there's like a disconnect that on the producer side of things that I'm a dancer. But I would love to dance. Even like, sure, ballet is really fun, but I'm like, why are we not writing one that's like a pop star vertical? Because pop
Mm.
stars are always like singing, dancing, and doing that. I was like, that would be so fun. And that's a lot of how I dance in LA anyways.
Mm.
Like, a lot of what you're auditioning for is like the backup dancers for celebrities.
Mm.
That could be a storyline. Like,
And it makes so much sense as well because well, apart from all the talent that obviously there is for people like yourself to have the roles, what's more high stakes than ballet? I mean, Black Swan showed that, didn't that? I mean, you're straight into, people's careers, cutthroat, you know,
yeah,
everything hinging
there's
on
so
things. It's
much.
the dramas. I guess what I'm trying to say is the drama's already there, isn't it? If you're looking for high stakes drama.
So much. And I know Adam wrote a pitch deck for me and Kira. She also
Oh,
has
of
like the dance.
course, she's got her dance, yeah.
Yeah, so he wrote this amazing pitch, and he's trying to shop it around to see which vertical will be willing to produce it, where we can actually utilize dancing. Because I would love to do that. I feel like that was a huge reason why I wanted to do Tiny Pretty Things, is because it was combining two things that I love, acting and dance. Um, and I don't know why we don't see more of that. I think it's just kind of hard to do
Mm.
these days. There's a new show on Amazon Prime called Etole, I think
Yeah.
Etole, or something like that. And it's okay. It's just I don't know. Nothing has been able to capture the magic of center stage, and so I feel like people just don't try.
I feel like you and I need to host like a cinema. Everyone who's not seen
Center
Center
stage.
Stage, can you please come and watch it and understand how good it is? So,
It's so good.
and the lovely thing about that is you don't have to be into dance because I made my best
Yes.
friend watch it and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to." And I'm like, "Okay, actually, I get it. It's you don't
Good
have to love dance
story.
to watch it." So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like right now, what I'm really hopeful for is some of the things I've mentioned with like Campus Rivals and Design by Desire, which are coming out soon, are they are taking chances,
Mm.
especially with the way they're shot, the way they're lit. Like they're trying to be more cinematic with it instead of, I feel like sometimes verticals are very just like not cookie cutter, but this is a thing that works, we're going to keep doing it. And if we're allowing like things that are taking risks to do well, I think then hopefully it will lead into more cinematic type things where we can take bigger risks. Because I do think with dance and probably a lot of other, I mean, they're doing hockey ones, which is like a sport, but like you have to make sure you have someone who has a dual skill set, and then you need someone who's able to film dance, which
Mm.
is also a
Mm.
skill set. So I think it's just like I'm hoping that verticals will be willing to take those risks in their eyes.
I
Um,
think they will. So there's a
yeah,
really good hockey vertical that's just come out on Salty TV called Plough Pay. And yeah, they actually have like there's proper hockey being played. All the like the guys playing team are like hockey.
yeah,
And then they were telling me, because I interviewed on YouTube, of like, the camera operator is on there skating. Everyone was on the ice skating with them. And then it is another level as a viewer because you're actually in with the action. I'm like, okay, this is the first one for a long time of a sport one where it's like they're actually playing the sport. And as you said, it's not just, oh, they happen to be a hockey player, but you don't really see it apart from the fact they're wearing the kit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's important. I think it's just another level of storytelling. Um, and I love verticals. I feel like they're really giving people the opportunity that how old Hollywood used to be, where everyone was making stuff. And right now, oh, we were talking privately, I feel like the world is kind of in a scary place right now. And when that happens, everyone grips onto stuff, and we're seeing that so hard in Hollywood. Like nothing is getting green lit. No new movies are being made unless they're sequels and
Mm,
that type of stuff. And the reason that's happening is scarcity mindset and everyone being scared. And what's great about verticals is I feel like it's kind of putting the power back into people's hands.
mm,
That's like we don't have to depend on the six major studios to make really beautiful stuff anymore. And I feel like with that freedom, I think hopefully will come a lot of play.
well, that's like the perfect ending. So just, can I just say thank you so, so much for being just a shining light and providing so many
Yeah.
amazing entertainment hours for us to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. That's like at the end of the day, I feel like we ask ourselves why we're doing this, and I'm doing it for the viewers. I want people to walk away from anything that I do feeling something. Whatever that feeling is, I feel like that is what is important in life is human emotion and scope and how we connect to people. And that's all I want to do. And I'm very, very thankful to be a part of this world. And thank you for watching and having me and creating this space for us to be able to talk about what we're doing. I'm pretty sure every actor who's in the vertical space and trying to do it beyond that is just obsessed with it. So thank you for giving us this opportunity.